Good morning, and thank you for joining with me today on this Easter Sunday. Tony Campolo is a pretty famous American evangelist, and he once told how he heard a wonderful sermon in the pews of a black church one Good Friday. The minister began his sermon quietly by saying, "It's Friday. Jesus is hanging on a cross. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming." And he continued, "It's Friday. And Mary's crying her eyes out. The disciples are scattered with sheep. Without a shepherd, it's Friday. But Sunday's coming." And he keeps working up this phrase over and over again. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming, until he reaches the climax. And he shouts out, "It's Friday." And the whole congregation stands up with one voice and said, "But Sunday's coming." Easter is the greatest day in the whole of the Christian year. Passion plays have been held all over the world and to retell the story. And in one of them, the fellow who was playing Jesus was heckled by somebody in the crowd. And so he threw down his cross, walked over and threw a punch at the guy. After the play was over, the director said, "You just can't do that. You're playing the part of Jesus. He never did that. It's not on." The next day the heckler was back, and again the man exploded. The producer said, "That's you, you're out." The man begged, "Please give me just one more chance. I can handle it if it happens again." And so the producer decided to give him one more chance. And so the next day he was carrying his cross up the street, and sure enough, the heckler was there. He was shouting, and you could see the fellow trying to control himself. He was clenching his fists, and finally stopped, and he looked straight at the heckler and he said, "I'm going to see you after the resurrection." Bit of truth there. It's the same message every year, Easter, but it never grows old. I believe when the stone was rolled away, we got a first glimpse of a new world, a world where death doesn't have the last word. There's a beautiful story told about Gracie Allen. George Burns and Gracie Allen were great favourites in the early days of television, but they were also very much in love. Gracie died in 1964. George didn't die until 32 years later, at the age of exactly 100. When Gracie died, George was devastated. And one of the things that George kept close to him was a love note that always encouraged him. And the note said, "Never place a period where God has placed a comma." Never place a period where God has placed a comma. And such a sentiment makes no sense without Easter. Easter is God's light beaming into a dark world. In churches throughout the world, the words will ring out, "The Lord is risen," and millions will answer. Will you do it with me? May you join them and me when you say, "He is risen indeed. The Lord is risen. He is risen indeed." Thank you for listening to me today, and God bless you.